Awesome. Awesome. All I can say is, wow, articulate, embed, live the values. That's so powerful in an organization. Thank you for those insights. Take a moment to put in your top takeaway from Rose today, and go ahead and just take that moment, put that in, and we'll get started with some Q&A. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them into the Q&A. I saw a few questions, so I'll make sure that you remain on the webinar after the Q&A. I'll bring Monty back on, and he will tie all the presentations together for you and to discuss next steps. So there we go. Let's say, I'm going to stop sharing your screen. Can you stop sharing your screen there, Rose, for me, please?
Sure.
There you go. For some reason, it was locking me out. Not sure why, but that's okay. There we go. All right. So first question. So I've saved, the team has saved a couple for me to ask live. So let me review those. Speakers, are you ready? Because we have a couple of questions there. So one of the things I want to make sure, your local facilitator will receive the PowerPoint, because that's one of the first questions I had. Will receive the PowerPoint and the next and the recordings. So your local facilitator will receive in the next 48 hours the PowerPoint and the recordings. They will provide this recording and PowerPoint to you during your post debrief session in your one-to-one conversations. If you do not have a facilitator, that's okay. I will connect with you and send you that information, send you the proper information so you can have. So I'm going to start off with, I believe this question is from Monty. We have a lot to do. How do I make time to add these leadership actions?
Oh, what a fantastic question. You know, I think that's a part of leadership, is making choices. And we have to choose to make time to do things if they are important to us. You know, my goal is not to add to your to-do list. I want you to become more effective in your actions. And that was the how of leadership. We all have a million things to do, but when we start to think of the how, the behaviors that we're flowing, that will make us more productive. And I'll put it this way: slow down to speed up. Slow down to speed up, because a lot of times we're going so fast, we make mistakes. We don't complete something all the way, and we have to go back and do it all over again. I'm not saying get it right 100% the first time, but you have to slow down to speed up. So I hope that helps.
I love it. And I think, you know, while you're off of mute, Monty, there's one question is, what's the relationship between management and leadership?
You know, as you move into an executive position or you become a manager, you absolutely have to do both behaviors. You have to be a manager to ensure that competence and productivity in your team, but you also have to lead your people. So if you're in a management role, you have to do both. They are intertwined. And if you are not a manager, you don't have management responsibilities, you still should be and can be a leader. It's not that you're going to sit behind. You got to go out front. You still have to share your viewpoints. So leadership, everyone can be a leader. When you get into a management role, you need both parts, leadership and management.
Fantastic, fantastic answer. I think we have time for one more before we wrap it up for Monty. I think this one is for Stephen because it has something to do with meetings. So is it good to brainstorm in our meetings? So I believe that's for you, Stephen. If not, any of the speakers can chime in.
Yeah, brainstorming, great question. I'll be blunt. In your regular meetings, no. You should set aside a different time of critical thinking to brainstorm. In your meeting, if it's an opportunity, bring it up. The problem that we fall into when we have a meeting is like, oh, well, let's brainstorm this idea. Immediately, we put everybody into fight or flight. we're no longer able to think the way that we need to. If it comes up in a meeting, hey, let's brainstorm, just shift, say, great idea. This is what we're going to brainstorm on. I want you all to go out for a half hour or an hour or a week. Think about it, set aside some critical thinking time, take some notes, come up with some solutions, some ideas. We'll reconvene in a brainstorming meeting, actually, and we'll do it then, because by then the research is done, the ideas are flowing, and you're in an environment where it's not fight or flight. And more often than not, you'll come up with a great solution.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. So I think that's kind of all the questions. I want to thank Paul and Damon and the facilitators, the speakers, for answering the chat and the Q&A. So I appreciate you for manning the Q&A and chat. So thank you for that. Monty, how has the last 2.5 hours been for you?
You know, I just love the learnings that I've had just by listening to all of the presenters and the teachings today. And I think the whole point of what we're doing here today is to help you see the big picture. And, you know, you see the chess functions, you see the chess pieces throughout a lot of the slides. I want to reinforce here that, you know, anybody can play checkers. It's easy to learn checkers, right? Chess, it takes a lot more knowledge. It takes a little more strategic thinking. And running a business is exactly the same way. Whether you're the CEO or you're an executive team member, you have to think strategically. And that's what the chess pieces are representing here, is they are representing how you have to think as an executive. And especially in today's crowded world, today's confusing world with so many things distracting us, you have to take the time to think that way. So that's really the power of that chess piece, is we have to think that way as executives. And I want to tie this together. Angie started the day with defining that great business. And I want to come back to that, because this is what I want to challenge every one of you on this call to create. A great business is sustainable. It's outlasting us. It's predictable. We know when we do action A, it gives us result B. It's stable. We have high retention, high engagement with our team. It's consistent internally and externally. Our employees know what to expect from us. Our customers know what to expect from us. And it has an emotional connection. When I think of emotional connection, again, it's internally and externally. Our customers love who we are. They are connected to us, not just by our serving them, they love why we do what we do and how we behave. Internally, our team loves who we are, how we interact, why we're doing what we're doing, and our culture. Again, I mentioned today, and I think I saw a stat last week, that 52% of employees today are looking for a different job. 52%. And I'm going to say a lot of that is because of that emotional connection, or they're missing something in consistency, or it's not a stable organization. They don't know what to expect, and it's not predictable or sustainable. Our job, our number one job as executives, is to fulfill this definition of a business. Every single day, are we making the right decisions to get there? And that's, again, are we adding zeros? Adding zeros is not just revenue and profit. You can be very profitable and have great revenue, but not have a sustainable business, and not have a predictable business, not be stable, not consistent, and not have that emotional connection. So as we've gone through today, we have touched on 5 disciplines that every organization needs to have to truly grow. And I want to put it this way. We could be great at strategy. Marvin did an awesome job of touch strategy, but maybe we're terrible at execution. So we can't grow because we're strong in one, but not strong in another. We may have great business development, but our mission discipline is not powerful. So we have high turnover and we can't truly fulfill. When we talk about these disciplines, these are organizational disciplines that your team has to live by. You have personal discipline, how we work together, how we work our day. but you need organizational disciplines as well. And that takes leadership and management. Again, management creates competent and productive people. If you have a team member that's not performing the way that you want, you first have to look at yourself. Am I helping them be competent and productive? How am I teaching them? How am I holding them to account to those actions? But I also have to look at, are they willing to follow our processes? If they're not, then we have a tough decision to make. But that's my role as a manager. As a leader, I need to be casting the vision. I need to be focusing on getting them guided and redirected when they get off path. Leadership and management is needed more than ever today. You know, to tie everything together, everything we talked about is intertwined. And I really believe this, that to run a great business, you have to have a holistic view of the business. And that means you're touching on every one of these 5 disciplines. Holistic, you're seeing every aspect of it. And that's the power of adding zeros. When I think of all of the top, we have to choose our business model. And that business model defines how we're going to win. And it should outlast us. It should outlast our competition. Kevin spoke on the discipline of business development. And I love this. And I think right now is the time for all of us to be evaluating who our core customer is. And should that evolve or change as we come out of, or if we're still in dealing with COVID. So we have to choose that core customer. And I love that unique growth proposition. How are we going to grow? I spoke on the discipline of people, and I really believe this, and so many organizations trip over this because they don't think it's as important. You have to invest in your assets. Your team must be an asset, and the only way it's going to be an asset is if you continue to develop them with personal development plans. And it does start with you. You have to grow yourself first before your team will even think about growing. Stephen did a great job with discipline of execution. And again, I want you to remember this. You lead people, you manage processes. Meetings are a process. Communication can be a process. Stephen said it well. You manage with a process that is holding them accountable with clarity. Green, yellow, red, great way to do that. Rose taught us about the discipline of mission and focusing on our culture and our core values. Your core values determine your culture. We as executives, we're at the top of that ceiling. If we're not talking about our culture, we're not driving and giving feedback or making decisions based on our core values, no one else will as well. I was in a past life, I worked for an organization on day one after a merger. Everybody got this new list of words, but no one ever talked about it. You have to get them involved in your everyday lives, in your everyday conversations. Everything is tied together to grow your organization, and you need these disciplines. So I hope you took a lot of notes. There are 2 actions to help you fully implement that I want you to think about. Number 1, and this was mentioned a couple times today, strategic thinking, execution planning. I don't believe strategic planning works any longer because you go away for a weekend and you come back and God, we got all this to do, but life just keeps going and it sits on the shelf. We need strategic thinking and execution planning. Thinking strategically is stepping back all the time, and then we have to plan for how we're going to implement those actions. As adding zeros, our process is about helping you see the long term, helping you think strategically, and then we're here to help you fully implement. So we not only do strategy retreats and quarterly planning days, but we have those implementation coaching calls with your executive team. That's strategic thinking, execution planning. And in there, we're helping you grow in your executive development. Our role is organizational and executive development. And we do that through create greater discipline in your organization. So I want to encourage you to talk to your facilitator about strategic thinking and execution planning and how that process can help you grow your organization. The last thing I want to help you implement with, and Stephen mentioned this, I want every one of you to ask the person that invited you here today to do a complimentary 5 disciplines assessment. It's complementary, and I want you to do it. I want your executive team to do it as well. And Stephen did show just one question of that assessment. These 50 questions is your self-analysis on our disciplines. And these aren't just made up things. These are things that successful businesses are doing well every single day. And that self-assessment about your team, about your executive team, is going to help us prioritize and help you prioritize where you can make the biggest impact to not only add zeros, but to create greater discipline. So 2 follow-ups just for me is tying everything together is strategic thinking, execution planning. Ask your facilitator how that might look for you. And again, ask your facilitator to help identify and implement that assessment, that complementary assessment, to get some self-analysis of where you're at. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to each of you for joining us today. I hope you got pages of notes like I did. I hope that each of you go and implement. That's the execution planning. We can all learn things, but the challenging part is to go make it happen and work with your facilitator to do that. In the chat box, Angie just put a link to our feedback survey. I would love to have every one of you just take less than a minute. Give us your thoughts and feedback, because we want to continue to learn to help you best be the best, not only organization, but best executive as possible. So I want to end with thanking our presenters and our speakers here today. Everyone did a fantastic job. Great learnings from all. Angie, anything else you want to share that as we close our time today?
Absolutely. This was great. We look forward to doing this more often. It's awesome. But more importantly, share your feedback. Also, jump on social media, #MoveToGrowth. What were your top takeaways from the presenters, and your favorite quotes, your favorite lines, what you took away? Go ahead and put that on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to put it, and make sure that you use #MoveToGrowth. I look forward to seeing, I've already seen some comments, and I think Dave Lakin, I think shared the video that Kevin had done. So feel free to do all that. We look forward to seeing your comments and hearing about your takeaways. Thank you all. Back to you, Monty.
Again, thank you everyone for participating today. Now it's time to implement. Make time every week to think and plan your implementation. How are you growing yourself? How are you growing your team? But create organizational discipline. Thanks, everyone. Do appreciate your feedback, and we look forward to helping each of you add zeros to your team and your organization. Have a wonderful Thursday. Thank you.